Hello and thank you for joining us. I'm Wilson Stribling. Welcome to part one of a special three-part series on At Issue. We are weeks away from the November 5th general election when Mississippians will go to the polls to choose which candidates will represent statewide offices like governor and lieutenant governor. Republican and Democratic candidates have rolled out their plans for Mississippi, and public education is a primary focus. Major party candidates for governor are Lieutenant Governor Tate Reeves, a Republican from Rankin County, and Attorney General Jim Hood, a Democrat from Chickasaw County. In the race for Lieutenant Governor, Secretary of State Delbert Hosemann is a Republican from Vicksburg. State Representative Jay Hughes is a Democrat from Oxford. Later in this series, we'll hear from those candidates as they discuss their public education plans. But first, at issue tonight, we're taking a closer look at the status of public education. Joining us to discuss and debate the issues are two education advocates. Grant Callen is founder and president of Empower Mississippi. Nancy Loom is the executive director of the Mississippi Parents Campaign. Welcome to both of you to At Issue as we talk about this important topic. Has been a big topic in all these campaigns that are leading up to the general election. Nancy, let me start with you. How would you describe the status of public education in Mississippi, both in terms of recent accomplishments and based on issues or concerns that you have?
I would say there's good news. There's some very good news. There's also news that's a little concerning. The good news is that as we have seen over the last couple of decades, our national test scores and our statewide test scores are continuing to improve. So student achievement in Mississippi is continuing to improve. What we also see is that that achievement actually is outpacing the national average in terms of improvement. And so that's very good news. We know that our teachers are doing a better job with what they are given resource-wise than are the teachers in most other states. And so they've shown that if you invest in what they are doing, when the state decides to invest in what they're doing, they do a really good job with those resources. But what we also see is that spending and the achievement tracks very, very closely with the spending. And so we know that in years where we have fully funded the MAEP and invested more in our schools, achievement has really accelerated. Now, in very recent years, we know that we have had the worst underfunding of public schools in the history of our state. But we've also seen some acceleration in our tested subjects nationwide. So the subjects that we test on a national level are math and reading. And we've seen some real acceleration there. So how can those two things be true if the achievement tracks the funding, but we are seeing the worst underfunding? How are we seeing improvement? Well, we've seen some very targeted additional funding in third and fourth grade reading and reading at the early levels. And so we see this bump in both our reading and our math scores, because if you can read the math questions, you do better on math tests too. So what we know is that our students and our teachers are doing what we are asking them to do, and where we are making those investments, we are seeing real improvements, and that's great news. But we also know that because some of that spending is very, very targeted, the improvement that we're seeing in our national test scores is masking some real problems that we have in other areas of public education where our schools are being starved of resources. We have a massive teacher shortage. We are really at crisis levels in terms of a teacher shortage, which means that class sizes are rising. We're seeing some less focus in untested areas than we would like. Schools are having to compromise on things like the arts and extracurricular activities and things that we know are really important to making our students the well-rounded people that we want them to be. So there's good news, but then there is this other news too that has really created a real crisis in public education that we really need to address.
Grant, what about you? Your opinion of the status of public education, both in terms of recent accomplishments and concerns that you have.
Sure. I kind of like the way Nancy framed it in terms of there's good news and bad news, because I would agree with that. There is a lot to celebrate over the last few years. Graduation rates are on the increase. We're seeing achievement scores, specifically NAEP scores. We've seen some of the greatest gains in Mississippi's scores compared to other states in recent years. But it's not; those gains are not happening across the entire state. It's really what I've described as kind of a tale of two towns. You've got pockets in the state where our education system is really serving students well and kids are achieving and they're being prepared for college or career. But there's also places where they're not. And so the biggest concern I have is that if you are African American, or if you are low income, or if you are special needs, your chances of getting a great education in Mississippi is not great. And we continue to see the results in those particular constituencies is not what it needs to be. And so we've got to do things to continue to improve public education, but we also have got to do something to help those that are falling through the cracks. And so that's why our organization has advocated for great public schools, but also additional education options for parents, because we see too many kids are still falling through the cracks. And even in our best school districts, we don't meet the needs of every student. And so we believe choice is one way to do that. And Mississippi has started down that path. We have a choice program for students with special needs. We have charter public schools that are serving students in Jackson and in parts of the Delta. And we're seeing great results there. And we're seeing that this doesn't have to be an either or. You don't have to choose to have great public schools or give up on public schools and choose choice. Let's do both. Let's help our public schools. Let's help parents that need an additional education option. And by doing that, we can create a state that gives every child an opportunity to be successful.
We'll talk more specifically about choice and charter schools here in a moment, but let's talk a little bit more about school funding, as you mentioned, Nancy, specifically MAEP, the Mississippi Adequate Education Program. What do you like about MAEP and what do you not like about it?
Well, probably the best thing about MAEP is that it is it does improve and focus on equity. In fact, there was a recent study that was done that showed that if you look at every state, Mississippi is in the top, I think it was the top 6 in equitable funding of our school districts. So in some states you have a situation where high wealth school districts actually receive more state funding than low wealth school districts, which is absurd. But in Mississippi, we don't really do it that way. The problem is that when the formula is not fully funded, the equity piece really suffers, and that is what we have seen under this current administration, is that they have dramatically underfunded the MAEP. In fact, we have the worst underfunding of the MAEP in our history. If you compare this administration in the past 8 years to the prior administration's 8 years, under the Barber administration, and you know, we had the Great Recession during those 8 years. And so during that time, the MAEP was actually fully funded and got really close to it another couple of years. And even during the Great Recession, if you look at the total 8 years, the total underfunding across those years was $960 million, which is a lot. That's a lot. But this past 8 years, the most recent, this administration, the total underfunding of our public schools without a Great Recession has been $2 billion. It has been really dramatic. And so the equity piece has really suffered. Now, could the MAEP be improved? Certainly. I mean, we could put more money in for English language learners. We could increase the percent that goes to children who are in low-income families, or to those districts that have high percentages of children in low-income families. But let me also say, give a word of caution. What we saw recently in this administration is that they said, well, we need to. This is an outdated formula, and we need to revise this formula. But the obvious goal, it became pretty clear pretty quickly that the goal was for the formula to generate a number that was considerably lower than what the current formula generates. And so they tried to market this lower formula, worse formula, to high needs districts, low income districts, by saying, we're going to give you a greater percentage of this under this new formula. What they were doing was cutting the amount of funding that everybody would get. They are just saying, we're going to cut those other people even more than what we cut you. So do we at the Parents Campaign think that the formula could be improved, possibly. Sure, it could be. Our neighboring states spend far more per student than we do in Mississippi. So we could have a formula that generates a level of funding that is equal to what our neighboring states provide. But what we don't want to do is go backward. And that is what this administration tried to do when they proposed their new funding formula, was to take us backward.
Grant, your thoughts on MAEP?
Well, I think if you asked the Department of Corrections, they would say they're underfunded. If you ask mental health, they would say they're underfunded. If you asked any state agency, you would see that they're underfunded by what they would like to get. And that's simply because we're a poor state. And I think we're seeing our economy grow, and that's terrific. But in terms of, and revenues are up dramatically, but it's going to take a while before we're able to spend what a lot of people would want to spend on agencies. So what matters most is not necessarily how much we spend, but how we spend what we have. And regarding how much we spend, what Nancy didn't mention is per student spending has climbed just about every year in the last decade, because our public school student population has declined. So that has given more money per student for those that are in public education. We're down about 20,000 students in public education in the last few years. And so per student spending has climbed every year. And that's been in this last administration. But what matters even more than how much is spent is who controls it, and is it getting to the classroom? And we liked the idea of a new funding formula that was more student-centered. Nancy's right, our MAEP has done some good things for equity, but it's also done some bad things, and it's not as equitable as it could be. For instance, it gives no money for students that English is a second language. Another point, it only has a 5% add-on for students that are in high poverty. The funding formula that was considered a couple of years ago in the legislature wasn't perfect, but it certainly went a long way to being much more student-centered, taking into account the individual needs of students. And then I think it's critical that we give teachers and principals more flexibility of their budget for how we spend those dollars. And then further than that, we've got to give parents the tools under any funding formula to make sure their students' needs are being met. And so that's where giving additional choices helps to do that.
Listen, can I comment
Sure.
on that? So one of the things that Grant mentioned was flexibility, and this idea that somehow what we have is not student-centered enough. When funding flows from the state, when funding is appropriated to our schools and it flows from the state to the schools, they have 100% flexibility on how they spend those funds. There is no designation in how they must spend those state funds. They can spend them any way they need to meet the needs of their students. And so what matters to the school district is how much money the school district gets. Because the state doesn't say you have to spend this pot here and this pot here and this pot here. It's the overall amount that comes to the district that matters. So the way that the formula is figured really is inconsequential to the district. It's the amount of money that comes to the district that matters. And that was kind of the trickery in what was done with this new proposed funding formula, was that they really focused all this attention on the weights and how much weight goes here, but all those weights were multiplied by the base student cost, which they cut in, like, it was a third of what the current base student cost is. And so it doesn't matter if you increase the multiplier, if you whack in half or take down to a third the base student cost that you're, so all of that is spin. What matters is what funding gets to the district.
Well, and the new formula that was proposed, and again, this is a couple of years ago, would have increased funding. Now, it might not have met the old formula's high bar. It would have increased funding year over year from the previous years, and the most high poverty districts would have gotten more of it.
But you're not talking about changing the appropriation. You're talking about changing the law.
The proposal would have increased money year over year.
The appropriation, assuming they appropriated what they said. But if you compared the law
Well,
to
legislators
the
have the power to appropriate
law.
money. So they
Right.
have the control about where they appropriate and how much. And they have increased money, and you've seen per student spending increase over the last decade, which is good.
Let's move on and talk about more of what's to come, and let's move on to a subject that I know is something you've spent a lot of energy on, Grant, and that's charter schools. There was a recent survey conducted by Mississippi First. It showed a lot of misperceptions about charter schools. What do you think, Grant, are some of the common misperceptions people have about charter schools, how they came about, why they came about, and how they're doing right now in Mississippi?
That's a great question. So charter schools was a extended battle to get to a point where the legislature was comfortable with the idea of allowing charter schools to be created. We were one of the last states in the nation to allow charter schools, and there was a lot of fear-mongering that went on before that law was passed, and many people said things like, you know, charter schools are just another way to resegregate our schools, or charter schools are kind of like elite, mostly white private academies. Neither of those could be further from the truth. Charter schools have opened up, now that we're about 5 years in, we've seen them open up in the communities of highest need. They're in some of the poorest zip codes in our state. They're serving students who are on average 2 grade levels behind. They are overwhelmingly minority students, and they are doing really, really well. And so it's great to see them now a few years in. And, you know, for your viewers, I'd say the best thing you could do if you want to know more about charters is go view one. Go take a tour. They'd love to show you around. I've toured all of them that are up and open, and they're doing great. The recent letter grades came out a couple of weeks ago, and Reimagine Prep, which is open the longest, is now rated a B and is the highest rated open enrollment middle school in the Jackson Public School District. Midtown has moved up to a D rating, and Smilo Prep is now a C. And so we saw tremendous growth this year. We're starting to really see the academic progress that we were hoping for. And we've long seen that parents are really excited about it. I mean, every charter school in the state now has a waiting list. Their retention rates are high. Parents love the additional option. And the beauty of charters is nobody's assigned to a charter. Parents get the freedom to shop around and say, well, do I want my neighborhood district school or do I want to try a charter school? And there's no tuition, but they're held accountable to the same academic standard as traditional public schools. So we get to compare apples to apples and see how they're doing.
Nancy paints a pretty rosy picture of charter schools, but do you think Mississippians would be better served if more resources were spent on traditional schools where most students are attending class already?
Well, certainly. Now, and let me say this, that we want every school that educates a child to do well. I mean, if the children are being educated in a school, we want that school to do well. And we did not oppose the charter. In fact, what we focused on was really improving the charter school legislation and all the things that Grant pointed to that make our charter school system here in Mississippi better than many of those that you hear about across the nation were things that we insisted be in that legislation. And so we have been pleased that they've set the bar. The authorizer board has set the bar pretty high. It's hard to open a charter school in Mississippi. It should be. It is rather inefficient to just start adding schools willy-nilly across the state. And so if we're going to add schools, we need to do everything we can to ensure that they will be high-quality schools. But again, I agree that we need to be spending more resources in public schools generally, and charter schools are funded the very same way that traditional public schools are funded. And so if we increase funding to traditional public schools, we will also increase funding to the charter schools.
Grant, Lieutenant Governor Tate Reeves, the Republican nominee for governor, of course, recently released an education plan. One of its key points to address Mississippi's critical teacher shortage is to implement a $10,000 bonus for new teachers who opt to teach in subjects like science, technology, engineering, math, STEM subjects, and if they teach in geographical areas like the Delta. And it also proposes increasing the bonus that teachers receive when they become board certified from $6,000 to $10,000. What do you like or dislike about such a plan?
Sure. Well, I'll give a disclaimer first because my organization has written a reportable contribution to the Lieutenant Governor, Tate Reeves, because we do like his plan for education. So I like, and we've liked the work he's done as Lieutenant Governor over these last 8 years. But his plan is a good one. He supports making sure more money gets to the classroom, and more of it is focused on teachers and incentives for those teaching in high needs areas, as you talked about. And I think it makes a lot of sense. And I think it's going to, we've heard a lot of great feedback from teachers that they really like it. What I also think is necessary, and I think this is another piece of his plan that I was really proud of, is he's putting together a teacher advisory panel, because what we have heard from teachers is, yes, they want to be paid what they're worth, and they're not currently. But even more importantly than that, teachers want to teach. And many teachers are frustrated because they feel like all they do is prepare students to take tests, and they teach to the test, and they have very little freedom and flexibility and the ability to be creative about the way they structure their day and the way they teach the curriculum. And teachers are frustrated about that. And if we want to treat teachers like the professionals they are, we've got to give them more freedom. You know, the two people that have the biggest impact on a student's success in education is their parents and their teacher. And often it feels like those two roles have the least control and the least flexibility, and we give them the least influence over shaping a child's education. And we think teachers ought to have a lot of control.
And do you think that those issues that you point out, do they help lead to a teacher shortage? Are they part of the problem?
Oh, absolutely. I think we heard over and over every year teachers have to do some soul searching about whether they're going to come back the next year. And a lot of it is they don't feel like they have the freedom, flexibility, creativity, and they're treated like the professionals they are. And it has run a lot of our best teachers out. Frankly, some of our best teachers have left to go to private schools where they make less money, but they have more freedom to teach. And look, if they're in private schools and kids are getting a great education, that's great. But let's not run them off. Let's give them some of that same flexibility.
Nancy, do you think the teacher shortage is more than just about money and a pay raise?
Oh, I'm sure it is. There has been this general hostility toward teachers for the last 8 years that has been really discouraging for them. There's been a lot of nonsense about trying to silence teachers and make them believe that they can't advocate for their students and that sort of thing, which of course would be unconstitutional, and teachers have every right to advocate for their students, and they're not prevented from doing that. But it's been very unfortunate that under this administration there has been this increased level of hostility toward public education generally. And we saw some of that in the last legislative session when there was this $4,000 pay raise that was proposed, and that was defeated in the Senate. And so it's interesting, I suppose good to hear that Tate Reeves is now proposing a $4,000 pay raise. He was instrumental in killing the $4,000 pay raise that was proposed in this last legislative session. So,
can I follow up? He has said throughout his tenure, and people on both sides of the aisle have seen him and recognized him for being fiscally responsible, and let's don't make promises we can't keep. And so I appreciate when asked why now, he said, well, we did do a teacher pay raise. In fact, we've done 2 under his tenure as Lieutenant Governor, but we can't make promises we can't keep. And so revenues are up dramatically this year over last year, and he looked at the numbers, in fact, waited as late as possible to make sure the revenue was coming in to say, absolutely, let's do it, we can afford it, and let's put it front and center.
Well, but all the indications were during the legislative session that we were going to have that level of revenue, and in fact, we communicated with our folks letting them know the revenue was absolutely there. But what we see happen year after year is with this administration, they have intentionally underestimated the revenue to keep appropriations low, and then socked all that extra money at the end of the year when, surprise, the revenue has exceeded expectations. And so we put it in the rainy day fund, we put it in other budget contingency funds and save it in all these savings accounts. But when we do that, what we're not doing is providing the services that the taxpayers want, and that is raises for our teachers, high quality spending on public education, roads and bridges, all of those quality of life things that we pay taxes for, but we're not getting because the leadership refuses to acknowledge all of the revenue that's coming in.
Let's talk quickly. We just have a little bit of time left. But Jim Hood, part of his education plan would be to implement pre-K statewide. He said it would cost $30 million, and he would also fully fund MAP. That would cost about $2.5 billion, according to the Department of Education. Do you like that, and do you think that's realistic?
I think that we can do, absolutely. I think that the people of Mississippi are willing to do whatever they need to do to make sure that our children get a high quality education. They've said that time and again. I think that there is a lot of funding to be found that already exists, and that over time those revenues will continue to come in. But there is no better investment that we can make than to fund pre-K and public schools.
Nancy Loom, Grant Callan, we are out of time. Thank you both for spending some time with us on At Issue. Coming up next week, part 2 of our special 3-part series on At Issue. We will hear from Republican Secretary of State Delbert Hosemann and Democratic State Representative Jay Hughes about their plans for public education. We thank you for joining us on At Issue. Have a good night.